one-to-one and an interaction with our immigration advisors at Carmento. So with us today we have Pooja Sharma, who's our licensed immigration advisor, and Shivani Oberoi, who's also our immigration advisor. So welcome Pooja and Shivani, and my name is Malkiyat Singh. I'm your host for this live video. So there have been many talks, topics, news, lots of social media posts about median wage. Today we are going to discuss what has happened. What is this median wage? What does it mean for migrants in New Zealand? And if you are considering of applying for a further work visa, what impact it could have on your immigration journey? And if you are a New Zealand employer, what does it mean for your business? What you need to plan for if you are planning to hire and support visa applications for migrants. So इस वीडियो के जरिए हम ये भी चाहते हैं कि हमारे काफ़ी ऐसे माइग्रेंट्स हैं जो आजकल काफ़ी दुविधा में फंसे हुए हैं कि क्या न्यूजीलैंड में आगे फ्यूचर है या नहीं, उनको आगे वीज़ा डालना है, उसके लिए क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं और ये इमिग्रेशन न्यूजीलैंड ऐसी चीज़ें क्यों कर रही है, व्हाई आर दे मेकिंग दीज चेंजेस, क्या इसमें एक माइग्रेंट्स का कोई भला होने वाला है या फिर माइग्रेंट्स के लिए सिर्फ दुख ही दुख पड़ेंगे. So this is the topic of discussion today, and I would like to invite everyone to ask any of your immigration questions. If you are considering applying for your EOIs and you want to know what it means for you, अगर आप work visa डालना चाहते हैं, if you are planning to apply for any type of immigration matter, and if you have any questions which you think you can easily ask in this live video, it will benefit you and other migrants in your similar situation. Please feel free to ask those questions. We will answer any of those immigration questions. So, सबसे पहले let's begin with opinions. So, Shivani and Pooja, I want to find out from you guys, what do you see it as? Median wage, $27 per hour. Do you think Immigration New Zealand is sending a message to migrant community? What impact it could have in the job market of New Zealand?
Okay. I am quite disappointed with this change, especially at this time. It is such a tough time for all of us, no matter whether migrant or Kiwis. Market situation is very volatile. It has changed over the last 1.5 years. Hospitality industry and many other sectors have been greatly impacted due to coronavirus. And there are a lot of people who are working in this industry lost their jobs, and now if they are getting back, being a migrant and looking for a salary of $27, it's something it is on a higher end for a migrant to get that kind of a job, salary. And for an employer also, I would say that paying that much of a salary to a migrant or to an employee, knowingly the market situation what it is now, it is quite hard and tough for them. And I would say with this kind of a change happening, by government, it is not gonna just make things difficult, but it is also gonna have a direct impact on the economy. Like raw materials, things, and everything will have a increased prices, and that will automatically reflect on the people's behavior. Their buying behaviors, and there are other factors that are impacted. So I'm quite disappointed with this change.
And you've touched migrants, and I think many employers out there would also be very disappointed, because reason number one, there's huge shortage in certain industries. Let's say for example construction. So there's a huge shortage already. It's hard to find people, and if migrants will be struggling to get their visas, or employer will be struggling to get support visa applications, that just frustrates the whole situation, because the idea of migrants getting into a country is filling that labor market gap. And if immigration is making that hard for migrants and employers, that just seems awkward to me, that how they are going to meet the objectives of the immigration policy in the first place if they're not making it reasonable or functional. I would say the policy right now is not functional enough in terms of practical sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jasdeep Singh ji is saying more exploitation.
Yeah.
So Jasdeep Singh ji, swagat hai tada is video vich. It is one of the concerns which government is intending, that they want to do an immigration reset. They want to make sure that any employer who's applying for supporting a work visa for a migrant, they have to get accreditation, and then they must also make efforts to hire and train New Zealanders.
Yeah.
And if they want to hire a migrant, it is going to be almost like a privilege. So it's not an entitlement, it's going to be regarded as a privilege.
Yeah.
So let's see what other questions are coming. Rajat Gujralji, welcome to this live video. I am working in healthcare and will get $27 from December after completing my level 4. My visa will expire next year in March. If EOI opens, should I go for residency or employer accredited visa first? So, Pooja, would you like to answer this question?
Sure, why not? Well, Rajat, let's say you have a valid visa until when? March next year. And you will be able to get $27 an hour in December. So I'm pretty sure you will need a further work visa, which means, yes, an employer accredited work visa, because even if you submit your, assuming that the EOIs and SMC is open in December, if you submit your application in December, it is highly unlikely that you will get your residency result in March. So you will need a further work visa to be able to continue working in New Zealand and also to, stay lawful in the country. And at that point, as of now, the best option would be obviously the employer accredited work visa, and that policy rolls from 1st of November this year. So unless you meet certain other policies at that point, employer accredited work visa, which is you need to go for before your visa expires in March, even if you submit your residency at the same time. Hope that answers your question, Rajat.
Yeah. So next question we have from Jepsi Patel. So Jepsi Patel wants to know, hi guys, any changes to work to residence visa? I'm on $26 pay right now, planning to apply in a few months. Thanks.
Yeah.
Shravani, you want to answer?
Yes, sure. So Gypsy, work to residence visa changes have already been happened, and this policy will no longer be valid after 30th of October. So starting from 1st of November, this policy, immigration is not going to process any applications which is for work to residence application. You said that you are on $26 pay now, planning to apply in few months. I'm not sure about your salary at the moment, because if it's an accredited employer that you are talking about, then it seems that your salary is not enough. It does not meet the salary threshold in the current policy. I would need more details to understand it. And but yeah, you can. But if it's from salary point of view and from other aspects, if you meet the requirements of skill work to residence, then you still have time till 30th of October to apply under that policy.
So Shivani, I think it's possible that Jepsi is looking at applying in the long-term skill shortage list or some other category.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question from Kiran Sandhu. Kiran Sandhu wants to know, is there any update on upcoming policies for EOI or people who are stuck offshore?
There are two questions in there, one
Yes.
about EOIs and one people.
So what do you know about this, Pooja? What do you want to share?
I'll touch the EOI and I'll let Shivani do the offshore part of the question. So EOIs, basically any news on upcoming policies for EOI. I don't know if you have already submitted your EOI or if you're looking to submit your EOI. So basically, immigration, we can still make EOIs, you can still submit your EOI, it will stay in the pool, but immigration is not accepting EOIs and they are not issuing people invitation to apply for the actual application. In terms of the changes, there are apprehensions, and we have made a video about this already, that we apprehend that the points are going to increase, perhaps from 160 to 180, but nothing is confirmed yet, but this is the apprehension. And also, another breaking apprehension was that, you know how we get 30 points if you are outside Auckland now, but there are going to be 5 cities which may be excluded, and people who are in skilled employments in those cities outside Auckland may not be able to claim the points for being outside. And those cities are, help me if I forget, Shivani, I think it's Tauranga, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, and Hamilton.
Yeah.
Sounds all right?
Yeah.
So these are the 2 major changes, and the third biggest changes is the raise in median wage, which is going to be increased to $27, and that has already been declared for yesterday. So from 19th of July, people who are submitting EOIs, whether or not EOI, immigration starts to accept them, but the pay rate is $27. That's the threshold that people need to meet to apply for EOIs.
Yeah. And as far as people who are stuck offshore, in the last video we covered this topic, and it is quite close to our heart as well, because we have a lot of our clients who are stuck offshore as well, and there is no answer from us, from anyone at the moment, because government has not decided when they're going to open the borders. They have just clearly mentioned that they will open the borders slowly, and it would take at least a year or year and a half. But for people who have their visas, or they were on, like on employer specific visas or open visas, but they are stuck overseas, if they're running out of their visas now, what would happen to those migrants? I'm sorry to say, but we don't have any answers, because government does not have any answer to that.
Yeah, and in terms of policies, I think it is quite political. It is something which is even beyond Immigration New Zealand Department. It is to do with ministers and their preferences, how they want to run the country. Okay, so we have some very interesting questions coming in. HS Badesha wants to know what happens to those people who have applied for their skilled migrant residence EOI on the basis of $25.50 per hour. Will they also have to meet the new threshold of $27 per hour?
That's a very, very hard question, I would say.
I think it's an easy question.
I think it's an easy question. We get the very, many options.
The impact is hard.
Yeah, because recently before this live video, I was in touch with our clients who are in a similar situation. Some of them have applied their EOIs with $25.50 salary, and some of them wants to apply now. And it was quite hard to say whether, once immigration opens up the residence process, will they accept those EOIs or not? That is the first question. And if they accept those EOIs, will they accept salaries of $25.50 or not? So, it's hard in that place for migrants who have already applied based on $25.50.
Absolutely. And I think now it's about time where Immigration New Zealand is likely to make an announcement on skilled migrant residence, because in the article, in the press release, they have mentioned that this salary will also be reflected in skilled migrant residence, which means now they have to make an announcement. Let's see when it happens. So we have another question. Let's see. Prince Manral. Prince G wants to know, I have accredited employer, my salary is $26.70, but package for a year is $63,000. Can I apply for residence when open? I think Prince is implying skilled migrant residence.
By the sound of it, yes.
So, Pooja, you want to answer?
So Prince, in terms of residency, in the policy itself, there is no annual threshold. There is this hourly threshold. But in saying that, if your annual salary is $63,000, then depending upon what sort of hours that you are doing, as long as you meet $27 an hour, if you basically divide your hours, out of your annual salary, then if you meet the minimum threshold of $27, you still need to meet that before you could apply for residency. Obviously, if you're looking to apply for residency after 19th of July. So you do need to meet the minimum threshold of the hourly wage, no matter what your annual income is. And along with that, you also need to have a full-time job. So minimum, you need to be doing 30 hours to be able to have a full-time job.
So in short, answer is no. It won't work out for you because your hourly salary is 26.70. It has to increase to meet the policy requirements. Okay, very interesting question, Prince. Thank you very much. We have more questions coming in. So in the meantime, while we look at these questions, I want to discuss this salary. So Shivani and Pooja, let's say a business owner, they have very good migrant workers, and they are currently paying them $25.50 per hour because that's what they negotiated when they hired this migrant. And now suddenly Immigration New Zealand has announced that they want the median wage to be used as $27.
Yeah.
The migrant worker is performing the same duties, same role. As an employer, could I now suddenly increase the salary of that worker? Or will that be a problem with immigration if they apply for a work visa? What is your opinion?
I think Kiwis was discussing this morning.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I can give my inputs here. One way to look at that is that if employer can prove that there is actually financial sustainability and employer has doing good in the business and they want to increase the salary of a migrant, yes, of course they can. And depending on the position of the migrant as well, in organization chart, it shouldn't be like that if it's a retail kind of a like a store, and then a store manager is earning 25-50, whereas if it's a duty manager or a store person, and if employer is ready to support that migrant by offering them $27, it does not make any sense. So it's a mismatch here. Whereas if employer says that yes, my team is working very well, I'm getting good profits, good revenue, and I want to increase salary of everyone, and the salary that I'm going to offer is $27, then answer is yes. The another way to look at that is that what does immigration wants for all employers at the moment is that if you want to support a migrant for their work visa, you need to offer them $27. If you are not giving them $27, then there are other there are other elements involved, like getting involved with work and income, and there are other few things that immigration going to release soon. So if immigration themselves telling all employers that please make sure that you're paying them you're paying migrants $27, and if an employer saying that I want to support my employee and I want to pay them $27 as expected by immigration, then what is wrong in that? So why would immigration come back and say that it looks like that you've increased the salary just to support the work visa? But answer is yes, that is correct. We want to support a work visa holder, and we want to, and you are saying as an immigration that salary should be $27. So I'm ready to pay my employer $27. So then immigration should not ask and raise those kind of concerns.
It will basically be interesting to see INZ's take on it when we do catch ourselves in those situations where a senior person is getting less money and the migrant in a lower position, as you said, maybe a duty manager is getting more.
I think if I am immigration officer making a decision, I'll decline that application. Because to me, if a business is genuinely paying a salary, it has to meet the market rate for that role. And if they are paying more than market rate, and that's only for one worker at a lower position, and they're not paying more than market rate for any of the senior managers, or even that what they are paying to that worker, I would see it as a not sustainable rate. It does not deliver any business benefit to that company for having to pay that much of salary. So I think it's an immigration risk. That's my personal opinion, and I think many immigration officers will share this opinion. Ideally, I would want this requirement to be changed to suit particular industries. For example, in retail and hospitality, the margins and the way they structure their business is quite different. This industry is not equipped to be able to pay that much of salary immediately, because that will mean increases in pricing, and New Zealand economy as such may not be at that point that suddenly we can see all these price increases in all the commodities, all the eating out options. So I think there are some challenges for employers which they would have to mitigate, and there are some industry focus groups. So it's interesting to see what happens next. But we do have some recommendations for those migrants and those employers. If you are looking at increasing salaries, I think it is important that you review your organization as a whole, and you don't just fixate on one particular person's visa. You have to look at your entire organization. So exactly what you guys are saying.
But then there is another thing. This average market rate that we talk about, this has been established, with from the economic point of view. So this is what immigration is doing. If they are saying that $27, they recently changed the minimum threshold to $20, right, in April. So what they are doing is that a minimum is $20, migrant should earn $27. So what they are doing, they are actually shifting the economy to a better economy by saying that it's a rich economy by the end of the day. So what they want to say is that then, of course, it will have impact on the average market rate as well. So currently, if our average market rate for a store manager is $25, so in next few months or a year, average market rate for a store manager should be $27.
Yeah.
So it will have a direct impact on the average, market rate for all the occupations in New Zealand as well.
Okay, we have an interesting question from Goli Jatji. Goli Jatji, kya haal chal hai? So Goli Jat wants to know, my employer is not accredited, but my annual package is 73,000. Can I apply for residence when EOI open? So I think he's implying on skilled migrant.
Well, as long as you depending on again how many hours you're working in a week and you do meet the hourly threshold of $27, yes, you can submit the EOI. In terms of your question that your employer is not accredited, well, as of today, nothing has been confirmed by INZ that whether to support residence applications, whether the employer has to be accredited or not. But we assume that it may be so, but they haven't confirmed anything yet. But depending on what sort of work visa length you already have on your current visa, but if you need another work visa while your residency is in process, then for that purpose your employer will need to be an accredited employer to extend your work visa, unless you have 3 years open now, and if you're lucky and you get your residency sorted between those 3 years and you don't need a work visa at all. So to be able to apply for a work visa from 1st November, your employer needs to be an accredited employer for residency. Nothing has been confirmed.
Yeah. So, Jatji, another thing, you also need to meet 160 points at the moment for the current threshold. If Immigration New Zealand announces any new changes, keep watching that space. You may have to meet the new increased threshold. But at the moment, they have not made any announcements. So right now, as of today, you could apply for your EOI if you meet the English language requirements, and if you have 160 points, you need IELTS 6.5 or PTE equivalent, you are able to submit your EOI immediately.
Yeah.
Selections are paused, but submissions are still possible.
He's saying he has 170 points.
Okay, great. So then you can definitely apply for EOI if you wish.
Sure.
We have another question from Bishal Jung Basnetji. Bishal ji wants to know, can we apply for residence if employer is not accredited?
I think that's just continuation of my previous answer that I was just giving. So for work visa, yes, your employer needs to be an accredited employer if you are submitting your visa application after 1st of November. To be able to support residency, whether your employer needs to be accredited or not, immigration has not said anything on that point as of today. So we are not sure. Your employer may be eligible to support you to apply for residency even if they are not accredited, but INZ hasn't said anything on this. But for work visa, yes, they do need to be accredited from 1st of November.
Yeah. He wants to know for the points as well, whether the points would be increased from 160 to 180.
So again, as we said, immigration has not made any announcements. These are speculations.
Yeah.
It could be that it increases. It could be that it just stays at 160.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have more questions coming in from multiple channels, but I also wanted to discuss some of the topics. Let me just bring up. We have already covered some of these. Duration of work visas. So, what can you share with our live audiences today in terms of duration? At the moment, if anybody is earning less than medium wage, they only get 6 months of visa. Now, is there a slight hope for those? With this new implementation of medium wage, Minister has also said that the duration will be moved from 6 months to regular 12 months. So what do you see it as? Is it an opportunity for those migrants who are stuck to at least buy some time? What are your views? Should they still apply for a work visa?
It's something like if they are a low skilled worker and applying for another visa makes sense only if they're running out of the visa, right? Because if they're a low skilled visa, it's a good advantage for them. So first of all, rather than getting a 6 months, they still get 12 months duration for the visa. Another one is that if I'm not wrong, even the if they are in a position of that stand down period, And because of this coronavirus situation, they, it is still extended.
Mm.
So it is a good beneficial situation for them, I would say, for low skilled workers.
And also, especially Shivani, what do you think? For example, after 1st of November, the employer has to become accredited.
Yeah.
Whereas from 19th of July, they could get 1-year visa. So, considering the scenario that many employers may or may not become accredited employers, they may not choose to become.
Yeah.
So, I think for those employers, what do you think? Should those migrants actually apply for a 1-year visa,
Yes.
even if they are on an open visa? Because the situation is, if they remain on open visa, and let's say somebody has an open visa until June next year, so they have 1 year now. For them, it doesn't make any sense to apply for 1-year visa right now.
Yes.
But if somebody's visa is running out in, let's say,
March
January,
or next year,
so what do you think?
I would say then yes, they must apply for another visa and get that added advantage that they're getting right now of 12 months duration of the visa period. Yes, and especially if they know that the employer that they are working with right now may not get the accreditation later on.
Yeah, because even if it's a few months extension, it's still
It is an
extension.
Yeah.
So I think on similar point, Nisha Gurang wants to know, my visa will expire on February, so when is the perfect time to apply for a new visa when new rules are coming? What is your advice?
Now. I mean, that depends, obviously, Nisha, whether your employer is going to get accredited or not. Even if they are going to accredit it, I would say why not to apply for your visa, well in advance. So, and again, depending on your salary as well. If you think you're getting 27 or you may be able to get 27, then you can apply for your visa before 1st of November. But if you're getting less than 27, and you don't apprehend any increase anytime sooner, then you should apply for your visa before 19th of July.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pooja. And we have another comment from Rajat Gujralji. Rajat is saying, immigration is talking about reset. If they do reset, can we expect less processing time for skilled migrant category?
I don't know if we can expect, but we hope that the processing times are lesser for sure. And by reset, Rajat, they mean basically resetting everything. They have already reset the work visa policy. They've declared the changes they're going to make. The policy, they haven't rolled the policy out yet, but it will be out there shortly. And in terms of residents as well, no, we don't expect anything as such, but we do hope that they do work on it and make an efficient, process.
Thank you, Pooja. In terms of the policy requirements for work visa, if I am an employer and I need to plan ahead, what could I do right now so that I have enough staffing? Do I need to now start training New Zealanders even if they don't want to work? Or should I hire a migrant worker who's on an open visa, but they're going to need visa assistance in 5 months' time? So what is your advice to those employers? Because from employer perspective, it's quite a difficult scenario. They need somebody right now, and there is a migrant who can do the job. That person is suitable right now. They could just start.
Yeah.
But after a few months, I have to then repeat the again process of advertising, and I have to also become accredited. So what do I do?
To me, I would say it's quite intellect. Both your answers are quite intellect to each other, because for an employer, even if they want to, there's one situation in front of them in which they are training Kiwis that they already have, and another situation is that they want to hire a open work visa holder, but they know that sooner or later they have to get the accreditation done. To get the accreditation from Immigration New Zealand, they have to prove that they train New Zealanders or not. So by doing the first task, they are actually gaining those points that yes, we have the training process in place. We did train our New Zealand employers. So tomorrow, if they want to help the open work visa holder after getting the accreditation, they will be in a position to help, and to support that migrant worker. So as an employer, I would say that you may need a migrant worker later on in your organization to work along with other Kiwi employees. If you are one of them, and then you want and you know that you have to get the accreditation from Immigration New Zealand, So start working on your training process. It is very, very important for you to get the accreditation one. And then once you have that thing in process and then you want to support a migrant worker, you can do that. Yeah, both things I would say.
So we have another question from Prince Manralji. What happens if the company is accredited but offers 45 hours contract?
I don't understand this.
So
I think they're both.
If the package is more, for example, if somebody is earning, let's say 90,000, but their hours are whatever 70 or 60.
Yeah.
So does that work?
So to answer Prince, I would say that if you are planning to apply for your work to residence under accredited employer right now, your salary should be based on 40 hours. And your salary threshold is some $79,560 per annum. And it is calculated on 40 hours. So what does that mean is that if you are earning 79,560 based on 40 hours, you meet the salary threshold. If you are earning maybe 90,000 based on 45,000, based on 45 hours, but you still meet the salary requirements of 79,000 as per 40 hours, then you still meet the salary threshold for work to residence.
So basically, you can't be on 79,560 on a 45 hours contract. That was your direct question.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Vani. So in terms of work visa policies, when we look at the objective of the government in terms of what is the provision for employers who are not even able to recruit any migrants, and yet when they hire New Zealanders, these New Zealanders don't stay in the jobs. What kind of evidences can be supplied to Immigration New Zealand to prove that they have made efforts to train and hire New Zealanders, and what was the outcome? Because this is a question in employer supplementary form for employers.
Yeah.
So how do they fill in? So usually they just tick no because they haven't made any efforts. But with this new accreditation policy in place, I think more and more employers will be required to train New Zealanders because they are intending to hire more than 5 migrants. So what are your suggestions in terms of the training efforts? How do employers capture that training effort?
You can cover that.
Sure. Well, one is the evidence of hiring, of course. There will be employment agreements. Those employees will be on their payroll. So that will be the evidence that an employer has actually hired a Kiwi for the role. And secondly, whatever training that they are providing to these Kiwis, they need to document their training. For example, let's say once in a week or fortnightly, whatever, depending on what sort of occupation it is, what sort of training is required. It's the documentation of the training which is the key part here. So let's say if they're training once in a week, they should note down, there should be a manual of some sort where they, explain everything, that what sort of training was provided, who were present at that training, and that should be signed by both the parties, including the employer and the person who was being trained. So that will be a conclusive evidence that an employer has, made attempts to train Kiwis in the process of supporting their business, of course.
Thank you, Pooja. And I would like to add, in terms of Immigration New Zealand, I've asked this question to immigration officials and also to Minister in one of the immigration law conferences. The question I asked was that what do they expect employers? And the answer was they want employers to hire a migrant and then use that migrant to train a New Zealander. So if that migrant is bringing a specific skill set which they were unable to hire, then they want to transfer those skills to local New Zealanders. So this is what their intention and expectation is, that a company is hiring migrants who are bringing all this talent, and then that talent is being transferred to New Zealanders. So are they making that effort so that they are not relying on that same migrant, and maybe that migrant came on a temporary visa and that migrant goes away, but the company has learned skills from that migrant and they have trained other staff from that migrant. So I think this is how immigration officials perceive the need of migration. They're not even making any comments in terms of pathways to residence. They're saying, well, a temporary person comes here to work and live, and then that person goes. It's a different policy where they say we want to settle here, but when it's a work visa, their objective, the bona fide intent is to just work here for temporary purposes. And the message from government to employers is that use that opportunity while you have that migrant so that you can upskill your New Zealanders. And government also wants to motivate their staff to go through apprenticeship programs and skills and trades training. So that's what they also want, not just internal training, but that is helpful. However, it would also be useful if you are an employer and you are planning to train any of your staff to consider what options there are available through BCITO and maybe other industry training ITOs. So this would be also significantly important for you as an employer to start preparing right now.
Yeah.
You may have some New Zealanders, and if you start enrolling these New Zealanders into these courses, once you need to apply for accreditation, you will have evidence that, hey, I have this much staff who's enrolled in these courses, and the company is paying, let's say, partially their fee or all of their fee. So whatever the case, document those as well. So this is the right time to plan for your organization. If you are a migrant worker, and if you are watching this video thinking this is not a decision which I can influence, at least go and talk to your employer. Educate them that, hey, if you are going to hire more than 5 migrants and support their visa applications, you may be required to prove evidence that you have been spending time and effort and resources to train New Zealanders. So maybe send them the employer guides. They can even book an appointment with an immigration advisor. I think employers will need to consult immigration advisors to make sure that they are prepared and that they know what the requirements are, what the impact would be of the new policy.
Yeah, and I would also like to add there that employers should not wait for the last minute and wait, let's see what the policy is, and then we will decide this. They should start following your advice, which you have just advised them. They should not wait for the policy to roll out.
So anything else coming to your mind, Shivani?
To me, ever since from yesterday when I heard that salary is really increased to $27, it's very disturbing because we know that a lot of our clients may have a negative impact on this salary change. But I hope for the best, and I hope that we all get some kind of a solution. I know that situation keeps changing, immigration keeps changing, but yes, there would be some way that we all will get what we came here for.
And Pooja, any views in your mind? What do you think? Any advice?
Well, I just hope that immigration policies become workable for migrants, so that whatever dreams were there in their minds when they first moved to a different country, hoping that this will be a new home. It will be very disheartening for them if they have to return home, and if they can't make New Zealand their home.
So, do you think this will actually push people to move into exploitation zone? Because if the salary threshold is higher, they're not getting that much of salary. Would it mean employers will say, hey, I'll offer you more salary, but you have to work more hours under the table? So is that a risk which government is probably not thinking about?
I think 100%. I think this is a huge risk that is there. And I've heard people talking about it already.
And what about skills? Do you think there are occupations, if migrants were to channel their focus onto some certain occupations, and these occupations are paying a lot higher than the thresholds required? So what occupations would you nominate?
On this, I have a very interesting, debate, or a lot of people will have some kind of an idea. We all know that New Zealand works on trade workers.
Yeah.
So, all the people who are in the trades like plumber, carpenter, and all those kind of an occupation, they earn a lot more than a person who is on an office job or, somebody on a regular occupation. But whereas, as a migrant, if we have to move from, our countries to this country, the qualification that we have to do is mainly about level 7, level 8. Because if somebody wants to study a trade worker qualification, then immigration doesn't allow you to, they don't let you come inside the country and then study that kind of a level 4 or level 3 qualification. But fact of this country is that if you are level 3 or level 4 qualified, and if you're a trade, then you get that much of salary that immigration is expecting you to earn, like $27 or higher.
Yes.
So does that mean that immigration should allow qualification of level 3 and level 4 as well to come, as a migrant and come here and study? And is it a pathway?
So basically to provide that sort of qualifications to international students.
Yes.
Absolutely, I think they should, and they are not doing it. It just reflects on their intellectual ability to see the gaps.
Yeah.
If you look at the free education program, where after COVID, government announced that, okay, now if New Zealanders want to retrain, these are the courses you can study fees free.
Yeah.
All of those courses are trades courses at level 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 maximum, but mostly level 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So why don't offer the same courses to migrants who are willing to do the work, who are actually looking at such pathways, but there is no course available for those migrants.
Yeah.
And the reason why we see all these migrants jumping into healthcare, because there is, magic, there is a level 4 course which is possible.
Yeah.
Welding used to be one such occupation, then there were some issues with course structures and it just faded away slowly. And carpenter is one such possibility.
Yeah.
So there are many of these occupations which are in trades space, which I think, Shivani, what you're referring to, it would be a great suggestion for government.
Yeah.
And New Zealand Treasury Commission and Education Ministry.
Yeah.
They should actively consider if migrants can have a pathway of training into these skilled trades courses.
Yeah.
And Pooja, do you want to nominate some of the occupations?
Construction is my favorite because I deal with a lot of employers, in that occupation, and I've seen their frustrated faces where they're absolutely offering higher salary and salaries on the higher end, more than market rate, but they still fail to recruit New Zealanders or even migrants at some point. So construction is my personal favorite, and I think there's huge shortage, and I think there's huge potential even for migrants. And there are qualifications even for international students already, which New Zealand tertiary providers do offer. So construction is my suggestion that you should think about construction if you can get into that field.
Okay.
And what Pooja said, construction is such a big umbrella.
Yeah.
Because plumber, carpenter,
Yeah.
welder,
Anything that
construction.
gets into construction.
Yeah.
Carpenters,
What-
builders,
Yes.
everything.
What do you think about construction project management? Is it a field where migrants can find jobs easily, or is it a bit of difficulty with the culture difference, management style difference?
I would say, because I have gone through the list of that qualifications that New Zealand government has offered free in light of COVID-19. So project manager is one of the qualification that they are teaching. So I would say that it must be that yes, there is a shortage of construction project managers, and this is what this is what New Zealand government wants, that get that qualification and starts working as soon as possible. So yeah, answer to your question is yes.
Yes. And we have another question from Shinu. So Shinu wants to know, can someone apply for an essential skills work visa soon after he signed the new job contract?
Absolutely yes.
Absolutely, yes.
So do that as fast as possible, because if your salary is less than $27 and you're waiting, if you wait till 19th of July or after that, you may not be able to apply. So please, a job, it has to be a job offer or a job, so you can apply.
So as soon as you have signed the contract, you are eligible to apply. You need to make sure that your employer has done the advertising and they have all the evidence that they have made the labor market test and that there are no New Zealanders who could be hired for the role.
Yeah.
So you need to meet all the requirements, but yes, there is no time frame restriction that you have to wait for this much time before you can apply for your work visa. Even if your contract has a trial period, you can still apply for work visa without waiting for the trial period. Okay, so with these questions and interesting discussion, I think we have almost finished our allocation for today's live video.
Yeah.
And on the topic of occupations, before we finish off this video, I would also like to nominate my personal favorites. So I often say in my immigration advice and career planning pathway meetings that if you are in ed, med, or tech, so this is a term for education, for medicine and technology, then you are never going to be out of job, because human beings, we like to reproduce and we grow old. So with our increasing population, we have a lot of demand and need for teachers to train our kids, our child, early childhood, and in general in schools there is a shortage of always a shortage of teachers, and in education sector there will always be jobs. And then medicine, because we are human beings, we don't eat organic food, we eat all these chemicals, and we are exposed to all these pollutants, we get all these disease. Biggest reason is stress, our lifestyle has changed, and all these blue screens. So we do get sick, we need medicine, we need doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, all of this falls under med. And then there is technology. So technology is a vast umbrella, but in general, if you look at any engineering professional or engineering trades person, they fall under tech. So if you have got some skills with your hands or with your mind, you can do something, engineering analysis, designing, planning, plumbing, welding, engineering, robotics, software programming, whatever, in terms of technology. You will always have a job. However, you need to be very specific and target your perfect job. So we recommend doing some research on careers.govt website. So I'll share the link after this video during this chat, so that you guys can do your own research. And EdMed Tech is my favorite, so that's where I want to finish off this video with. And thank you, Pooja and Shivani.
Thanks to you as well, Maki.
You're welcome, and we will be back again with this live video. If you guys have any of the questions you want to answer, you want us to answer, you can also go to our website. Our website has a ask a question section where Shivani and Pooja will reply to your questions. You can be as detailed as you want and share whatever you want to be publicly shared. The answers and questions will be visible on our website for everybody to see, so that others can benefit.
Yeah, before we end that, I know that Shinu has asked a question, so I would just like to, so you can just answer her question so that she gets the answer in this live video.
So your answer to your question is, Shinu, yes, you are eligible to apply for 3 years work visa with 2550, but the deadline that you need to keep in mind is 19th of July. So with 2550, you are okay to apply for your 3 years work visa before 19th of July. But if you pass that date, depending on where you are with your employer in terms of advertisement and everything, and if you submit your visa application after 19th of July, you will need to have $27 an hour.
And another question, Shivani.
Can we?
Pratap Chandra says, can we apply for residence with a 3-month contract role
No.
in ICT support engineer?
No. To apply for a residence application, you either need to have a contract of 12 months, minimum of 12 months, or you should have a permanent full-time position in the company.
And if you have been working as a contractor, you also have to prove a consistent track record of history to show that you are a person who is consistently able to get contract work. So it's not that you get one-off contract and after that you'll never find a contract. So you have to show why they should believe that you will likely to be a good, successful migrant who's able to settle in the country.
It has to be ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. With this, we take your leave and have a very productive rest of the day to all of our audience.
Yeah, and enjoy your weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.